Spicy salsa jars.
Welcome to the DL Gaming Podcast. This episode we're going to be talking about the Darkside detective Dystopika, Rabbit and Steel, and Elden Ring. But first, my name is Christian.
And I'm Bobby.
I'm Nick.
Today I both rabbit and stealed. I'm going to talk about it later today. I had a good time with that.
Okay.
I don't know what it means. I don't know what I played it and I don't know what it means. Still. You ever read a whole book and still don't know what the fuck the thing's about? That's me.
The book.
I think that's you, dude. I think that's all you.
Damn. All right, what are we plugging this week, Bobby?
This week, we are plugging reviews on Spotify and iTunes. We've got a pretty good amount of reviews, and they date back pretty far. We should start reading some of them on the show, but we need to get some fresh ones. We need some fresh takes, some fresh opinions. We want to know what you think about us. So hop onto Spotify, hop onto iTunes, leave us a review, and we may read it on the podcast.
Here's the tricky part. Don't give us a negative one. It's a huge pitfall. Like, regardless of what you think
Make fun of what we look like. Do whatever you want. Just make it sure it's not a negative one. 5 out of 5. Emilio smells. Yes, I don't care. Totally. Just make it happen.
Yes. We don't take 4s over here. 3s, that's just ludicrous.
You know what? Roast us. Let's turn it into a roast. A 5-star roast, dude.
5-star roast.
Yeah. Have you guys ever heard of the Japanese rating system for restaurants and how they don't give places 5 stars ever because it actually means that they're bad and you should avoid them?
That's so weird.
What? Why are the Japanese
so in
weird?
Japan,
Why?
So in Japan, they usually rate, so it comes from a little bit of racism and xenophobia. Okay. But what it is that they rate things 5 stars so that tourists go to it and they don't go to places that they actually want to go to. So like the range you really want to go to is between 3 to 4 stars. Anything above that is like a tourist trap or something that you kind of don't want to go to.
This comes from
if that's true, that's pretty impressive that like collectively all native Japanese people just got together and decided they were in on this and pulled it off too.
Yeah.
This is brought to you by the collective of 3 or 4 star restaurant fucking association.
I'm actually sponsored by 25 different 3 to 4 star restaurants
in Japan. A very specific sponsorship. Yeah. Yeah, cool.
My pay is deducted so much due to the currency decline.
We pick things on the show. We're just noting something interesting, and I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3 with Rianne, picking it back up. And I remember why we stopped playing it. It was because we couldn't beat this boss fight, and there's one of 2 options. You win the boss fight, and you continue on your merry way, or you lose the boss fight, and then there's another bigger fight that you have to beat, where you kill all these people you just met who are your friends. So we couldn't win either
Which one
of
is
these. It's the Marcus Isabel Last Light In.
Oh,
fight.
Yeah.
So we couldn't do it. We couldn't do it. So eventually I just cheesed it. Like before the fight, Rianne talked to the NPC. I got out of the conversation and I took every barrel I could find and blocked off all the doors so the ads couldn't come in the room. And then Marcus just spawns in the room. I glyphed all the doors so that like there's this animation where these imp things are coming down from the sky and they're supposed to like burst into the room, but they just like glitched out on the roof and they couldn't move, so we just shot them with it. Was super cheap. Anyways, finally won the fight and we were very proud of what we did.
You were proud of this?
Oh yeah, so proud. This is like the 7th time that we tried to do this and it was a fucking slog, and I was just wondering, you know, Larian games can be cheesed, obviously. What is your biggest cheese? I don't know. Start with Nick, because I know he has one.
For me is when you're at the church with all the goblins inside of it, you can, as a bard, because me and my friends have been playing, as a bard, you can use the action to perform. And as long as enemies or anybody's not hostile directly towards you or like actually attacking you, when you perform, if you pass a performance check, you can actually get all of them to move near you. And they'll circle around you like a foot away from you and just watch you perform. Well, we did that in the main boss area and we got like 12 dudes around one of our characters. And then we just put a bunch of bombs on the ground and then just fire bolted the bombs, and then all of them died instantly.
That's the cheese I'm talking about.
Also, the player died, but still, he got what is it called? He got XP because he actually didn't like die. He got knocked down.
Sweet.
Are we cheesy? Are we just talking about Larian here?
Whoa, no. Why? Let's open it. What's the cheesiest thing you've ever done?
Bobby, what's your cheese, man?
I'm going to go with an old classic. What was that sweep move in Mortal Kombat? So
The leg swipe?
Yeah, the leg swipe. I'll go with that.
Thank
I think
you
it's
for
down heavy
elaborating.
kick.
That's excellent.
I mean, if you want a specific example, God. All right, so you remember Josh from Fractal Design. I don't think he's with Fractal Design anymore, but when he was out here for, I think, TwitchCon, and we met up, and then we all went to one of those coin-op bars where it's a bar/arcade, and they have all these old beat-up arcade machines that barely work. So we played some Mortal Kombat, and of course, like half the buttons don't work, but what did work was the leg sweep, and I won entirely off of just the leg sweep there, which, not my best moment, but you know what? Sometimes the W is what's important.
You showed him his place, dude. You were like, hey, coming to my city? You better learn.
Leg swipe, leg swipe, leg swipe.
So I asked the best guy that I knew at like fighting games. I was like, dude, can you teach me how to be better? Like I humbled myself and laid myself at his I put myself on my knees, and he's like, you want to learn? This is how you learn. And he just played Mortal Kombat, and he was just placing high kick at the right time, and he just beat the computer like 4 times in a row just through just timing. He goes, that's how you get better. I was like, all right, I didn't learn anything, but that was pretty cool. But
thanks for nothing.
So the TurboGrafx 16, this is twice it's come up, dude. It's awesome. There was a game that was an RPG, and but it was a side scroller. And so you could like wizard, archer, knight, but you could gain experience and level up and stuff. It was awesome, way ahead of its time. And but it was also still an old ass game. So it was kind of like Mario, where it's side scrolling, and so at a certain like pixel or so, the enemy spawns. And I figured out that if you hold your position in one position, the enemy will just keep spawning, like a level 1 fucking whatever. And so TurboGrafx 16 always had turbo buttons. So I turned on the turbo, put a shoe on it, went to sleep. As these enemies are coming through, going into the meat grinder, I woke up level 99, baby, on level 1. And I just fucking owned everything. It was awesome.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, those are some good cheeses. If you're out there in the community, I want to hear your cheeses. Tell me your super cheese in Discord. Brag about it. And maybe we'll read them on the show next week.
You should be ashamed of yourself, Christian. Like, why?
Ashamed is a big word, I wear this shirt with pride, and I stack those barrels on the Baldur's Gate 3.
You look like you stacked them corn dogs.
Yeah. Bobby, what are you picking this week?
I just wanted to let everybody know that Angerfoot is out now. So this was a game that was announced, I don't know, at some conference, I can't remember what, but I remember out of all the ones there, this was the one that was most interesting to me. It's a first-person shooter, but you use your foot a lot as a melee weapon. Almost as if you were a Jedi with a lightsaber, but you had some guns. You're probably going to use a lightsaber more often, but in this case, it's just a foot that you constantly kick people with. It's very comical, and it looks like it's very fast-paced and fun as well. I'm kind of surprised at the price tag. It's $25. That seems like a lot for a game like this, but hey, maybe it's worth it. The reviews are good, but there's not that many of them. So I don't know, a little perplexed by that. I was expecting more people to be excited about this game, but came out a few days ago, so might be worth checking out.
Days and I both finished the demo, which is the whole first level, and we both enjoyed it a lot. I like it for sure. It's very comical, very surreal comedy. It's good. I liked it. So just let everybody know, on starting July 16th, for 24 hours, it might be 48, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is going to be free to download and own on Amazon Prime. And there was a big release for 2024. It's a third-person action game. and apparently it didn't sell very well at all, or at all.
You mean it's like the worst reviewed game so far of the year?
Well, on
for
Steam,
AAA
it's
developers?
7 out of 10, which isn't like the worst thing ever, but I think it had a really bad like initial launch.
It did. It was really broken when it launched.
So they lost $200 million for Warner Brothers on that one. And so,
Damn.
and what I think is cool though is the pivot, right? Like, what do you do with this? Well, you give it away for free and try to recoup a little bit. That's one of the options. That's what they're doing. So, yeah, on Amazon you can grab it, and like I said, it's 7 out of 10 for free. I saw somebody playing it. I watched them for about 5 minutes. I was like, this doesn't look terrible. So, actually, the game starts. You play as 4 different characters, and you're getting to a certain spot, the same spot, to meet up before the mission, and that's kind of like the tutorial for how all of them work. And I thought it was very cool the way that like they all get to the same spot different ways because they all have different abilities. You play as Deadlock.
Deadlock. Who's that?
Is that right? He's the guy that Idris Elba played in the movie. And there's also the shark guy, the big Maui, I think his name is. You also have Harley Quinn, and the third
Maui?
person, the fourth place, I don't know who it was. But yeah, for free, dude, it doesn't look bad at all.
What is this cast of super? I've just never heard of the shark guy. I don't know. It's like the C team.
They're not superheroes. They're super villains.
Yeah,
Oh, super villains.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you haven't.
Yeah, you play as really bad guys.
I haven't seen the suicide. I don't. They commit suicide. I don't know why they're called that, but
So they're bad guys
Yeah.
that have exploding head collars on them, and they have to do good guy stuff, or they explode.
Oh.
So it's a Suicide Squad.
And usually the missions are like super covert, and like it's usually the government fucking up somehow. And so like the government sends the bad guys, so just in case they mess up, they look like they're still bad guys. That kind of stuff.
Dude, the second
Okay, I'm in it. I like
the
it.
second movie I fucking loved, dude. I thought it was so good.
It's really good.
Yeah.
It's a completely different vibe than Marvel superhero movies. There's a lot of cussing. There's a lot of like, I don't know, like crude jokes and stuff like that. But the second one's really good.
Yeah, it's like
The
a
first
Deadpool
one's bad.
movie.
Is that the Tim Gunn one? The second one?
I think
Yeah,
so.
I think so,
It's
yeah.
excellent, man. It's really good.
No, the first
Cussing?
one won an Academy Award.
I don't
Whoa.
like cussing
What?
in my movies. You know?
Yeah, it was like a technical award, but yeah, that's the big joke, dude.
Yeah.
Like that first one was pretty awful. If you don't have to like watch a lot of movies to watch one and go, oh yeah, there were problems in production and this got changed like last minute and that's why this is a mess. Like it's pretty obvious how bad it is. But yeah, the new one, how many were there? The one in 2021, that was the Tim Gunn one. And
Yeah,
I think
there's
it was
only
just
2.
okay. And it was called the same thing, right? It
Yeah.
was just called the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Okay. It's just like
They just try to.
Yeah, John
they
Cena.
just rebooted it 5 years later.
Yeah, John Cena's amazing in
Cena's
it.
in it.
Idris Elba's amazing in it.
Yeah,
It's just a
yeah,
lot.
that one's good.
Yeah.
Watch that one.
Is that it? No, Nick.
Nicholas.
Yeah, just a quick mention, nothing super crazy. Space Marine 2 has gone gold. What that means is that it's now playable all the way from start to finish. Comes out in 3.5 weeks, I think. But yeah, that's it.
I've never
It's,
heard that
ready to
designation
go.
ever, dude. So that's kind of like
You never heard gone gold?
no. Is that like
That's like a common term in the gaming universe. Like anytime they come out with any kind of DLC or like major AAA release, they always mention that it's gone gold. Usually when that happens, you want to hear that at least a month or a month ahead, because you know now they're going to be just focusing on bugs and bugs only.
gotcha?
And so yeah.
There's no like rating agency that, you know, checks if something has gone gold though. So I don't know if it's. I don't know about this.
That's an
gone
internal thing.
gold. Yeah.
Well, it's also an internal thing to say that you're alpha, beta, and 1.0, right?
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of an industry term. Thank you, Tom, in the chat for correcting me. I said Tim Gunn. I meant James Gunn. You are correct.
Wow.
And we
That's
just sat here
crazy.
and took it, dude. Just
I know.
took-
You guys didn't even know.
we didn't even flinch.
Okay. Highlights games that we have been playing. Bobby starting us off. Oh, we know this series.
Yes, we do. The Darkside Detective, A Fumble in the Dark, is the game that I played this week. This is the sequel to the Darkside Detective game that came out back in 2017. Just like the original one, it is a point-and-click adventure game done in the style of a like a mid-90s LucasArts Monkey Island type game. I don't know if there's like a law that all these point and click adventure games have to have this like satirical comedic edge to it, especially with the dialogue, but they definitely are all like that, and this one's no different. What I really enjoy about this one, first of all, there's not too much different from the original one. It's more the same, but that's fine because the first one was great. It fixes a problem that I've always had with point and click adventure games, and that is navigating your character all around the map. It's kind of pointless because moving your character around the map doesn't really show you anything new unless you go over here and you go off screen and then you get a new area to explore. So it is kind of pointless. They've completely cut that out. You go into a new area and the characters just stand in one place, and then you can click around and navigate anything, especially with the Deponia games. I love those games, but I got so annoyed having to walk from one side to the other. I think I eventually discovered in those games you could double click on an area and it would port you over there. But before I learned that, it was super annoying. Just it breaks up the pace of the game and it just makes it slower. And a point and click adventure game is already pretty slow. It's also a really beautiful game. The Darkside Detective, they do some of the best pixel art, in my opinion. It is very pixely, and it's amazing how much definition they can get out of this without detail. Definition without detail is what I wrote in my notes, but that's kind of hard to explain, but look at it. It's just got like beautiful shading, like the lighting. They really do a good job of conveying lighting in there. And it's supposed to be like spooky 80s Stranger Things kind of vibe. You know, there's, what do they call it in Stranger Things? The Upside Down, but in this game it's called the Dark Side. So it is kind of like that. I kind of felt bad for them because the game came out, the original game came out at the same time as Thimbleweed Park, which
blew up, right?
That had one of the developers from who used to work on the LucasArts game, and that game was great too. And it was kind of like it took place in the 80s and had to do with some supernatural stuff. I mean, that's kind of where the similarities ended, though. So I feel like it kind of got overshadowed by that, but it still was a great game. And I mean, enough people played it to warrant a sequel. So I've been meaning to play this forever, and right now it's on sale for half price on GOG.com, which is a great place to get games. Although I wish I would have known this before I bought it on there. You can buy it off of Fanatical for $1 right now. Fanatical is this website that if you use isthereanydeal.com, you know of Fanatical. It's a website that bundles games, sells them at reduced rates oftentimes. And so this is in like a choose your own bundle, and you can get it for super cheap there. I assume Fanatical is on the up and up. So, hopefully they are. I know some of these like key resellers are super shady. I don't think that's the case with Fanatical, but I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, I'd recommend this game. It is a lot longer than the original one. The original Darkside Detective, I beat like 5 hours maybe, and that was kind of a long time. I felt I took some time with it. It's hard to gauge point and click adventures because you can get stuck on a puzzle and just spend a super long time, and somebody else could just solve it in a minute and then move right on. So the time to beat really varies, but I think I spent about 5 hours on that one. Just playing through the first case file on this game took me quite a bit of time. I want to say the game's like twice as long as the original one. So a lot more content, but still very fun.
Is that Cthulhu in the background, Bobby? Looks like a Cthulhu-esque kind of guy.
Did you visit the Tunnel of Love? I think that's the question we should all be asking, I saw that in the trailer.
Yeah. There's a lot of, and there's a lot of stuff in the trailer that looks really cool. I can't remember if the first one had stuff like this where there were these puzzles. So you see like this 3D puzzle and this pipe puzzle in the trailer.
Yeah.
I don't know if the first one had puzzles like that. It's been so long since I played it, but
That's
Yeah,
cool.
it does kind of look like Cthulhu in the background. I don't know if
And
that's the case. So.
on the art, Paul Conway, who I think is one of 2 developers on Speak to Bobby, interviewed him forever ago. And if you follow him on X, he keeps sharing, I don't know, funny guy. He like does his pixel art that he does for the game, like the super detailed style, but he like makes memes out of like, I don't know, whatever bullshit is trending.
Oh, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Super impressive though, this pixel art for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, that was my week.
I love that Bobby celebrated being able to move less in a game. It's just like really slows down the.
No one needs to move that
Oh,
much.
man. I mean, I love point and click adventure games, but let's be honest, these were like popular 30 years ago, and a lot has changed since then. And it's just like I like when they do a facelift, but they do it in the right spots, and they don't mess up the stuff that we know and love, but they get rid of the stuff that was always kind of annoying even back then.
Let's
The
just
Golden Idol.
let's just keep reducing what you can do until we have a book,
Yeah.
and then I won't be able to understand what it is. All right, I'm glad that you pronounce this, but I can't. Dystopika.
Yeah, Dystopika. I guess that's how it says. First of all, thank you, The Lotion, for picking this up and buying it for me during the Steam sale. That is appreciated. This game is a city builder, but I don't know. That's pretty loosey-goosey, because what you're doing here is there's no mechanics behind it. You're just literally putting down buildings in a cyberpunk atmosphere. So they have a couple of, generic district types. There's like Low Town, Corpsec, Midtown, and then they just kind of randomly generate buildings when you place your brush over a region. I mean, this might be, well, let's start what I like with it first. So it asked me to set my volume level. The first thing the game did, I was like, thanks for not blowing my eardrums out. It started at 0, and then I put
That's
it, I put it to 11, and I was like, I can handle 11. And then I just put it to 100 just to see what it would be like. I was like, yeah, this would have made my ears bleed like every other fucking game the first time I started. So thank you. Thank you for doing that. When you're making the cyberpunk city, you can upload custom images. So of course, I went through all the stuff I have from Nick for the thumbnails, and I made my city, I don't know, Nicktopia.
Did you see it, Nick?
No, I have not
Oh,
seen
it's
it.
pretty awesome, dude.
You're on the side of...
Where's it at? Where's it at?
It's in the Discord, but I should do a tour of Nicktopia, because there wasn't just that one. They have like cyberpunk filters, so it makes it look like it's on the screen with whatever image you put up, and you can also put videos on there. I was
He's
gonna
talking
put
about
the
like those billboards, like those digital. What is it? Like almost like a hologram.
like
a hologram.
hologram-ish.
Oh, yeah.
And he put his
like the
Nick's
digiboards.
big ass face is on a big ass building. That's hilarious.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
I think it's good. Yeah, I was gonna put the anti-Bobby commercial, like, or that Nick made, where can't hold
Yeah.
can't hold the mouse, and then you go around the corner, and it's like, have you seen this man? Yeah. So I mean, the game isn't really that high fidelity. The picture mode is probably one of the best picture mode in any game ever. Like, you can really zoom in, you can play around with everything. There's so many settings, made filters. But other than that, guys, this game was just too chill. Like, I was 2 hours in, and I was like, okay, I mean, this is it.
It's just aesthetic, right? I mean, there's no difficulty.
There's no difficulty, but it's not just that. It's like the city doesn't really feel alive. Like, the buildings don't interplay with each other at all. Right?
Once you put Nick's fat face on anything, it dies immediately. So
I'll remake another city without the Knicks. Maybe that was the problem, but I
think you need more me. That's how you keep people alive.
I would have wished, like, I could have put a "okay, I'm done" button, and then I could have just watched, and like there would be like a police chase, through the hyperlanes or whatever. Like, on top there would have been like an explosion, cyberpunk shit happening, buildings getting hacked, power networks going down, just anything to make it feel more alive, because there's just not a lot going on here, and it was in a short amount of time I felt that. So I don't know if I would recommend this game.
it's also cheap, right? Though it's like $7 game, isn't it?
Yeah, it is pretty cheap, but this is weird. This never happens. I can't even remember the last time I played a game that I wouldn't recommend, but I don't really think there's enough here. I mean, unless you really love the photo modes in maybe something like Cyberpunk, and that's like your shit. Maybe this is good. I mean, it's a single dev. I don't want to be too negative, and it has overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam. You know, I think part of it is like I never would have bought this game for me, but because it was purchased for me, I'm coming in it with, you know, different expectations. Whereas someone who looks at the Steam page is like, oh yeah, it's just a photo mode Cyberpunk game, and that's what I want, so I'm gonna buy it.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. People know what they're getting into when they buy it, most likely. Yeah.
So just make sure you know what you're getting into, okay? And
oh, you came up, by the way, Christian, on a long car ride. So Sam's like, well, I guess you could be like Christian and only play city builders. And then Christian, Sam's brother, was like, what is that? A city builder? I was like, it's a game. He's like Sim City? I was like, yeah, like Sim City. And he's like, what do you do in them? And I was like, you know, civic planning, make sure that there's no problems in the city, like traffic and sewage and stuff like that. And he's like, that sounds so dumb. He's like,
it does sound so dumb. When you just say it like that, it does sound dumb.
I thought us Christians would stick together, like, but yeah.
No, but that Christian did meet a guy named Muslim the other day, and that was interesting.
That is interesting.
Get the fuck out of here, dude.
Yeah.
A guy named Muslim. I've never met someone named Muslim, but I have heard of Rabbit and Steel, Emilio.
Yeah, so I Burn Books sent me a message. He's just like, hey, want to play? And I was like, I think I do want to play. And, you know, we're pretty accessible. Don't forget that, like, sometimes we don't know what to play either. I was just kind of sitting at my computer, and it was the perfect invite at the perfect time. And then I messaged Bobby. I was like, oh, maybe Bobby could show us what's going on. And eventually all three of us were playing. And what is this game? It's a little hard to explain. So I thought it was going to be a little more RPG than it is. It's a lot more shmup, which is kind of like, you know, side-scroller shooter. But it's not high-pace action bullet hell. It is fast-paced for sure. There's a lot of things going on the screen at once, but it's mostly area denial and being able to read visual cues to make sure you're standing or floating in the right space, while also doing the maximum amount of damage you can with your ability rotation. So you got those two things kind of colliding with each other. You got to keep yourself safe and do the most amount of damage you can. It's all wrapped up in this very cutesy, I believe that you're rabbit witches that fly around, and all the enemies seem to be like witches for the most part. And it's all very friendly. It seems like they're testing you. It doesn't seem like there's a bad guy here. Story doesn't really matter. But yeah, there are a lot of mechanics at play, and it can be frustrating when you run into one for the first time and you just wipe. Your whole raid is done because you didn't understand as a team what that was or how it works. But it is fun when you figure out what it does, and you know, because inevitably one of you guys, it'll click. And I think that's where I put true teamwork here. Like you people have weaknesses, and you can help each other out to fill those out. Bobby didn't understand how this one thing worked. I also didn't know how something worked, but he figured it out first, and we're sharing information, and we're trying to conquer a common goal. And so it works out really well. And even during the matches, call outs are very important on certain spots. So yeah, it's kind of like a mini raid, just like it says on the cover. It's like a mini MMO raid, not a mini MMO.
Did you guys bond? You know, was it the friends you made on the way more important than, or was it frustrating? You know, was Biblioclasm dropping the ball? Or I Burn Books dropping the ball?
Ironically, there is a part where you are chained together, just like the other game, and that was frustrating because if one of you reads the area right, everybody gets damaged, and that's when you really fall apart. It's a little like the Cuphead board game, which I was playing last night, where you really just don't want to get hit. That's number one goal. That's a resource you can't get back. Really, it's hard to do. So if you walk the wrong way and everybody gets hit and it's your fault, yeah, it's not good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Bobby,
Bobby,
did you have
what were your thoughts?
Yeah.
Playing it again, I understood so much more than I did the first time I played it. The first time I played this game, I didn't know what was going on. There was just like lots of flashing and circles and shapes, and I was just doing my best. But this time, I think playing it with other people who didn't really know how to play it and being forced to figure it out was a lot better, and really started to learn the game. And we made some progress. So we started on the green level, and like every fight, we're like, okay, this is what we're doing wrong. Let's correct it next time. And eventually, like, we were able to beat that level. So super rewarding. Go us. But we were playing with 3 people, and I noticed when we switched to 2 people, it was a little easier because the more people that you have, the more difficult it becomes. There's things that happen where there'll be a circle around all the players and you can't be near each other, otherwise you do damage to each other. Or there'll be a line going vertically or horizontally that will do damage to anybody, your teammates that are in that line. So you really have to work together. Then, of course, being chained together and having to move as a team to dodge things.
Well,
so there's a lot
Iburn
of
Brooks was also drunk, so once he dropped out, it got a lot easier. You really need like quick reasoning and quick reaction times. Yeah.
But it becomes more complicated. I mean, that was just with 3 people, imagine 4. But to compensate for that, when we went down to just 2 players, the circles that we couldn't be in became bigger and the lines became bigger. So even though it was easier, there were less lines. They were less lines and circles of damage. They were bigger, which made it a little bit more challenging. But I really had a good time. I understand this game a lot more, and I can say that this game is really good. Like they've done something really special here. I think they've captured the feeling. Like when they say like this is like the MMO experience, you look at the game and you say, no, it's not. That looks nothing like a WoW raid. So there's like this disconnect. And when you start playing, you don't really feel that either. But they've captured, I think, the feeling of it, but then condensed it into like a short playable period. There were a few things that did come up that I didn't like with the UI. Okay, most of these complaints are going to be about my teammates, I'll be honest. One that is the game's fault is the UI is a little cluttered at first. When you play with other people, you see their health bar, you see their abilities, you can see their cooldowns. I don't need to see any of that.
No.
Yeah, I don't need to see that information.
Because there's too much information already. You're looking at so many things.
Yeah, I'm having enough trouble just watching my own cooldowns as I'm trying to dodge something and do my attack rotation. You can fix that a little bit with the options. It's not super clear, but I was able to kind of hone it in and make it a little more manageable. The other thing is the people I was playing with were playing on controllers, and I think it's a lot easier to move around with controllers, and they're playing different characters than me. And I think there's a habit that we all have as gamers, and that's never stand still, right? Like always be moving. All right. Bob and weave, like you're boxing. And that's really difficult when one of your teammates has a circle of protection that you're trying to get into, or if you're chained to them and you're trying to like dodge something, and it's just like they're just moving just to move.
Who
and
was
I'm just
moving,
like,
Bobby? Like you keep naming this team. Was it Emilio or was it Biblioclass?
I don't know. There was so much going on, I couldn't tell who was doing what, but they both were, I think.
Okay.
So I don't know. For me, but there are times where you do have to move, otherwise you'll take damage. So you do have to do that. But there's other times where I think less movement is better. It just makes it easier on your teammates, because you are, like I said before, in this game, like your teammates are also kind of your enemies. They do damage to you if there's a circle around them, if there's a line going through them, if there's some sort of boss mechanic that's triggered that does damage if you're in the same area or not where you're supposed to be. So like you have to be aware of your positioning, not only for your sake, but your teammates.
Bobby even brought it up. He goes, so this stutter step that you guys are doing, it's like, is there a benefit or
Or you just have ADHD.
I love how he brought it up like
or
that.
you guys just is that some like cool gamer move? That's what he said.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. Fuck, I don't know. I think is because like in like bullet hell games, it's almost always better to just keep moving because it's easier to pivot than it is to start up.
Yeah, it's like boxing. You're always on your toes.
Yeah.
You shift your weight back and forth, and then it's like
but
easier
you're
to
right.
move.
Yeah, I didn't think about how
It can be counterintuitive in some of these fights.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
But yeah, man. I mean, you can like. So the annoying thing about MMOs is it takes forever to like get a build together, and then you take that in, and then you have the fun in these raids, and then you slowly get it better. This does the same thing, but over a short period of time. So you started out like just like a roguelike. You start out with nothing, and then you get items, and you get options on what you want to upgrade and where you want to spend your money, and all these things. So you build something, but it's condensed in a nice little package that doesn't suck away your entire life.
I get this. There's 5 items for 3 players, and if two people want the same
nice,
people, you have to roll on it against each other.
Mm-hmm.
Rollies. I love that.
Rollies, and whoever
Dude,
gets
rollies are the
obviously,
best.
yeah.
Nice.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking
This
of,
is a really good game,
Yeah.
and like honestly, I was thinking about it. We got a listener question about Game of the Year later, and this one like could be a contender.
Yeah,
Ooh.
I agree. I agree.
God,
Yeah,
This is a
damn.
really good game.
I mean, it's exactly what an indie is, right? I mean, can be. You have like a AAA thing that happens, and then some indie dev somewhere is like, let me just extract the best parts of this gargantuan machine and just condense it down into this very tiny little thing, and then you get it. It's crazy. So what Bobby was saying, like with the raid thing. So when in an MMO, when you fuck up on a raid, you have a meeting afterwards, and you're like, okay, what happened? Who can do better? Don't want to point fingers here, but you know,
the
there's
stutter
this.
step was
How many times has that happened to you, Emilio? How many times have you been the target of that review meeting?
No, not too bad, because I was always the hunter, which can always feign death and doesn't really fuck things up. But anyway, so now it's like after when you fail or you do better, there is a tiny meeting, but it's like 3 phrases like, what do we do wrong? I think it might be this, or what did we do wrong here? I think it might be that. And then you just adjust, and then you just go right back into it and fix it. And so it's all of that took 100 hours.
Yeah.
It's all of that took 100 hours, but it's condensed down into fucking 20 minutes. What the fuck? It's
That's
awesome.
Dude, my best friends that I've been friends
Biblioclasm's
with.
problem is he's drunk. He's just like, the problem is I'm drunk.
Yeah, he said it. He's like, my reaction times aren't the best right now, and this is a reaction time game. He's like,
You're getting
I
my
need to
live
take
reaction times.
I need to take a break. And as soon as he left, Bobby and I fucking just destroyed the level that we had. Yeah. But it was fun either way.
Yeah, it's a great game. The only thing I'm not super clear on about this game is what do you get for beating the levels? I know you unlock characters. You unlock these things called trinkets, which don't really have much of a competitive advantage. I'm not sure if you unlock other abilities that you can get in the shops or whatever. The gameplay is solid, the gameplay loop. I'm just wondering what's going to keep me going. You know, is it just like the desire to like beat the game or like beat the levels, or is there actually something that I'm working towards? Because I feel like that might be necessary.
It seems like it's the trinkets, but so I only have 2. Bobby, you only have 2 as well?
No, I've got a lot.
Oh, do
I've got
you?
like 5.
Oh,
yeah.
And you can't find one that like is
No,
beneficial.
so to give you an idea, the trinkets say like, if you have a buff, you flash, or if you take damage, like this thing has some sort of visual reaction. So it's another visual cue, but it's not like that. It doesn't really matter. Like, do I really need to know, hey, I've got a buff right now? Like there's probably other things that signify that in the game. So I don't know. I really don't understand too much of the point of the trinket. Maybe I haven't unlocked the right ones.
Like my character does dots, and my little book, it's a trinket. It shakes when the dot ran out, so I know when to reapply it, which seems really great. But I'm looking at so many other things. I can't watch this little book that's floating around. There's no way. I've never seen it once.
Would an audio
like
cue
it.
be even better?
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah,
There's a lot. Audibly, there's a lot going on as well. So.
yeah. I turned off the music.
Oh, you got to turn off the music
Yeah.
too. And it's so weird because like halfway through the map, all of a sudden they'll queue up this like
Metal banger?
No, it's like some Japanese pop song or something like that.
Well, here's another thing too, Bobby. Like, it's funny that like one of the things that keep you going, like the progression that you're talking about, is songs. You like when you beat a new boss, you get songs unlocked, and we just have our sound off, both of us. So it's like,
yeah,
but yeah, 9 out of 10.
It's a solid game.
Yeah,
it is a really solid game. But you got to come to play, man. It's not a co-op game. We probably aren't going to be playing this at DLG Con. You got to put the game face on if you're going to play.
Serious shit. Nick,
Serious
sorry,
business.
I talked over you earlier. Does this review change that you might give this a shot? And what were you going to say?
I might give it a shot. But what I was going to say is that like when it comes to raid reviews, one of the worst ones I've ever gotten were from like my best friends of like 18 years. We still play video games to this day. Every Monday we play Baldur's Gate, right? We're playing WoW, and they're like, dude, you gotta do better. And this is like right after Vivian was born. I'm like getting no sleep. I'm like, all right, I get it, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't also help that an expansion for WoW just came out as well. So I'm like, all right. I ended up like practicing on with Vivian like asleep next to me, and so when you play WoW, you're rated you're rated against the other people playing your same class, and you're given a score, and that score is called your parse. And so you parse between 1 and 100. The higher the number, the better. The higher the number means that you're more efficient than anyone else at that class, right? And so it gives you essentially the number is the percentage of where you land as far as performance. So 1% means you're below 99% of the people. 99% means you're above 99% of people. And so I practice. And so like I went from like parsing like 30 to like a 98. And they're like, what the fuck? What the hell happened in 2 days? I'm like, I don't know, man. I wasn't practicing at all. You know, it's just all clicking now. And they're like,
baby was sleeping and I was
been quite the montage.
No, it was
like
just a lot of Red Bull and some pretzel bites, and that's about it.
I'm imagining their meeting with you was like, I don't know, like an episode of The Bear. They're like, Nick, just consider suicide. Like, it's like,
dude, it's like that. They're like, you should really uninstall the game, dude. We can find a better shaman. It's fine. Don't worry about us. We can find a better shaman. I'm like, all right, man.
You
all
weren't
right,
born for this. Clearly, this isn't for you. Yeah. But is Elden Ring for you, Nick? You know?
Dude, oh my God. This game does not give up. So I have 48 hours in this game, and I'm starting a new save file, right? I'm in the DLC. I've been in the DLC for at least 16 hours, and I just can't get enough of this game. It is so good. There's new things in the DLC, like new weapons and shit, and they all have unique aspects to them. Like there's now like hand-to-hand weapons where you just like do kung fu and shit. There's a weapon that's a spike on your foot, and you kick shit and you like do flips, and like you like some of the moves you're like, dude, how do they put this in Elden Ring? And then you're like, oh yeah, I just roll and jump. Why not just add a kick animation and like make it so like it's never been done in a From Software game before? And so instead of fighting with like a big ass sword or like a shield and a hammer or something, you get to like do hand-to-hand combat. I'm like, I don't use them because I have to use now these really cool twin axes that I got. But I want to talk about a couple things that I want to bring up for people that are still hesitant on playing the game. It is essentially another game. It is so big and so long that it is a completely other game.
That's what she said.
If you end up picking this up, I really, really suggest looking up a guide on where to find shadow tree fragments, because they just make everything easier. It's the new currency or pickup items you can pick up that Emilio tried to describe last time. Essentially, what they do is that they lessen the damage you take.
He tried.
Yeah, they lessen the damage you take, and they increase the damage that you give. A lot of them are in open places where you can kind of just run to and pick up. Boss fights, you really, really, really need to go through the area before the boss fight before you actually start them, because you will find shadow tree fragments. And what I mean by that is, in a lot of From Software games, in a lot of Souls-like games in particular, you can run past enemies to get to like the gate or the door you need to go to be able to do a boss fight. And so a lot of people do that. A lot of people just want to just do the boss fights. That's it. They don't want to fight the smaller enemies. They don't want to explore. They don't want to pick up items and stuff. They settle on a build, and that's all they want to do. And so in this one, you really have to go through those areas, because you will find items that they're not items that you use. They're just passive buffs that you absolutely need to be able to beat these bosses. Like, for example, I was stuck on this boss. I was trying. I tried like at least 13 times. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to find these shadow tree fragments. And I ended up finding 12 more. And then the boss was almost trivial. And the reason being is that I did not explore as much as I should have. And all those shadow tree fragments were before the boss. It's not like I skipped the boss. I go to the area behind the boss, and then I found them, and then I used them. No. I went everywhere I could possibly before the boss, picked up the shadow tree fragments, and then did it. And then it was smooth sailing. It wasn't like trivial, like, oh, I killed it in 2 hits. But compared to me struggling and sweating 13 times before, it's a huge difference on how much damage you take, how much damage you do, how often you need to heal, all that kind of stuff.
I got a theory. I think that they have like a suggestion box over at From Software, and there's like, what's your number one gripe? And all the devs were like, people keep running past all the shit we worked really hard on and beating the game. And they're like, okay, let's put crystals all around the world that you need to run to and like get from beating everything, like explore the space, go. And it's funny that like one of the biggest thing about the Souls-like is exactly that you can potentially go to the last boss and just win the game, right? Or
not Elden Ring. There is shit you have to do, right? But for the DLC in particular, yeah, you really should go through the normal shit.
But what I'm saying is like, now they're going back to like a regular video game. Basically what you're saying is, before you beat the boss, you got to beat the level right before the boss and explore the whole
exactly
thing.
Like actually kill the stuff that's in front of it. Actually, yeah. Because like
cheese it. Have you tried stacking a bunch of barrels around the Elden Ring boss?
I actually, what's crazy is that there's these enemies in Elden Ring that people are like, I don't know how to beat them. They take way too long to beat. I don't know what to do. And they're called furnace golems, and they're like these giant 70-foot tall golems that are like a basket full of like just flaming coals. And the way you beat them is like insanely trivial. And what you do is you read the item that you can craft, and it tells you this does an insane amount of damage to these things. And you make these humongous fire pots, and you just throw them into the fire, and they overheat and they die. That's all you have to do. And there's like, I think 13 of them, and they don't respawn. And so the issue is, or like this, the thing after that is that you have to find an area where you can throw them inside of them. Because if you just throw them on their legs, nothing happens. So you kind of have to position yourself or climb a building and then throw the pots in them.
So just so everybody put down a note. If you're fighting a pot that has legs, make sure to throw it in the pot and not at their legs, because it's not going to work.
Yeah. The last thing I want to mention. The last thing I want to mention about the DLC is some of the field bosses are a little wonky. One in particular that wasted about 2 hours of my time. There's something called the Ghost Flame Dragon, and there's about 14 soldiers around it, and they're all fighting. Well, for some odd reason, the NPCs don't do as much damage to the other NPCs whenever they fight, and so it would be suicidal to run between them and try to fight both of them at the same time. Like, if you do that, you're insanely good, or you're just, cracked at the game. But if you end up actually waiting for one side to die first, the other side is way easier to defeat. 99% of the times, the dragon wins, but the dragon is also strong as shit. So every time I died fighting the dragon, I had to respawn, go to that area, wait for the animations to start, wait for all the soldiers to die, and then fight the dragon. I just think they probably need to reduce the amount of like damage buffer, I guess, or something that the NPCs can do to each other. Because not all NPCs do that in the first place. It's just like a little special thing that happens. Field bosses are these things that where you're in the open world and then they just show up. It's not like there's a gate or there's like a tunnel or like a ladder you have to climb to get to them, and then you open a door and then the boss fight starts. It's just a boss in the wild. And so field bosses, I've always loved field bosses. I think they're one of the best things that they've ever added to From Software games. It's just that one in particular they could definitely fix.
Can you say boss in the wild with an Australian accent?
Boss in the wild?
Okay. I have a question. I know Emilio is going to bring up something beautiful Elden Ring related, but I've seen this thing all over my feed. Never played Elden Ring. I don't know. People are saying, and Nick, where do you fall on this argument? You don't beat the game if you use summons or something.
So
I don't know what that is. Do you agree?
No, I don't agree at all. There are people. There's this guy who's like one of the best Elden Ring players. He's on Instagram and he says it the best way possible. He's like, the goalposts will always be moved for these games because they're already hard, right? 99% of people that are just coming into the Elden Ring and not playing any other From Software games will have an extremely tough time playing these games. They're not for the faint of heart. There is like a butt your head into the ground as much as you can until the floor cracks kind of thing. And people are not used to that at all. In this game, there are things to make the game easier so that process is way shorter. And summons are some of those things that you absolutely should use, and they shouldn't be looked down on using them. Like the guy that I'm talking about on Instagram, he's like, yeah, I only play with a DDR remote, like floor pad remote, and then I also play blindfolded on a razor wire on my hands, and then every time I heal, I get shocked on my nuts. And so he's making a joke of it because that's what people do, like outrageous shit. Like there's a guy who programmed a fish to swim in front of inputs, and like, look, a fish can beat Elden Ring, and it's like stuff like that, which is kind of stupid. But like, if it's your first time playing, second time playing, 20th time playing through the game, do the summons, use the summons. They're there for a reason. Some of the new summons are fucking insane. They're so fun. They're so useful. And
wait, when you say summons, you mean bring another player into your game, right? Isn't that what that is?
There's two summons you can do. You can do NPC summons where you can either summon a character from the game, or you can pick up these things called soul ashes, which are these incarnations of what you've defeated. For example, like it will be like a knight, right? It'll be like the Black Knight of Jarlsberg or whatever the fuck. And what you do is when you beat him and you get his soul ashes, you can summon him in a fight whenever the prompt shows up. But there's one that is kind of controversial that everybody says is kind of broken, and it's called the Mimic tier. And the Mimic tier, what it allows you to do is it allows you to summon a copy of yourself. And you can kind of get the Mimic tier to be really busted, especially if you're a spellcaster. What you do is you put on a bunch of defensive stuff. You put on all your strongest armor. You put on like a huge shield, and you use the Mimic tier, and then you change into like your actual spellcasting stuff. And so now your Mimic is like a super tank, while you can just cast as much as you want.
Oh, I see.
Cheesing the game.
That's cheesing.
Two thumbs up from Sniper.
That I kind of
can't see it, but
it's really hard to pull off. It's not like an easy thing that you can do, or you can really get, like, if it's your first time playing, you're not going to be able to do that as often as you think you will be. What I will say is that the Mimic tier, in my view, especially if you play up close and personal build, it's perfectly viable. Even if you play a mage build, if you want to throw 400 fucking meteors at somebody, do it. Play the game at your pace. The guy who invented the game series, the company, all that stuff, says anything that you can do that's in the game to beat the game is okay. Like Ashes of War, potions, buffs.
That's why they're there.
That's why they're there. And even he's like, I fucking suck at this game, and I made it. Like, Like,
Yeah.
I use anything I can. I summon other players. And summoning other players is not bad either because the boss also adjusts to having multiple players. It gives
Guys,
it
we
more
got
of a-
Nick fired up. Nick is fucking fired up.
I hate when people are like, you can't use this weapon because it's too strong and it kills everybody in one hit. I'm like, well, then why do they put it in the game? Now, it's different if it's like, oh, you have to turn around 30 times to supercharge this weapon and then it kills somebody. Yeah, that's obviously broken. But there are weapons in this game that you should use or not use. It's a fucking open world game. Play how you want it to play.
When Nick did that impression, for those who don't have the visual, he put his head in a way like a guy who can't even hold his own head up. You know, like, the voice comes from not being able to hold your neck up.
It comes from your third chin choking out your second chin.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
Okay. Oh, man.
Yeah,
what
that's
were you
good.
gonna
Guys,
bring
I
up
can
on
barely
that?
breathe.
Nick, you say that you're a lore guy, and there is a lore book. It's literally called the lore book. The title of it is Grace Given, the Mythology of the Elden Ring Collector Edition. It is a very nice book. It is
It
a
is
tome.
very pretty, and it's very expensive too. Why don't you go ahead and read
Yeah.
the price out there, buddy?
Well, the regular one is $278 right now at a website I would have never gone to had this not gone on. It's called Tune and Fair Weather, and it's very nice. But there's a deluxe version, and the deluxe version is $1,100.
Oh my god, that's so much money.
Now, being a lore guy, I kind of feel like you're gonna pick up this one, the cheaper
I
one.
wouldn't pick up either one of these. So there's a guy who I 100% will plug his YouTube channel. He's super cool. He's super nice. He's arguably the biggest Elden Ring YouTube creator. His name is Vati Vidya. And what he does is he goes over all of the lore in the games. And he correctly predicted, based off of lore and things like that, what the Elden Ring DLC was going to be about. He's like, it's going to
Wow.
be the realm of death. The shadow tree is an image of like the tree that exists in the real world, all this other stuff. He's like, and he got it perfectly correct. And people were like, dude, he's like the greatest. For those who've never seen a YouTuber named AltShiftX, he does the same thing for Game of Thrones. So if you've seen one and not the other, and you really want to get in the other universe, you can watch them, and it's almost like the same style, the same cadence, all that kind of stuff involving both of those universes. I would pick up a book like this, but I'm trying to buy less shit right now because I'll probably be moving in the next year. So no more big things for me, or like small things to move for me either.
Yeah. That's the thing about being somebody who loves collectibles and like getting cool shit is you got to move all that shit one day, dude.
Dude, you want to hear like the most barbaric thing that I've done in the last move? So, me and Leslie loaded up a 26-foot long truck by ourselves in 4 days. And we did this while watching Vivian, while having people paint the house, doing paperwork, going through the process of buying a new house in another state, all this stuff, right? And so she's like, what are you going to do with your Warhammer models? I'm like, fuck it, dude. If they don't survive, they ain't staying in the collection. And I just put them motherfuckers in grocery bags, and I put them inside totes. And I was like, if they live, they live. They die, all right? And I came back, and I got to San Antonio. Only 2 models broke, and it was like the bottom of a staff and like a tip of a wing, and I was like, we're good. Everything survived. So I guess I build my
good.
models pretty sturdily, I guess.
That's good, man.
Damn. Nice.
You'll appreciate this, Nick. I know we're going long, but this is a good one. This buddy of mine, he's like, dude, I need people to play Warhammer with. He's like, I have everything, and I have nobody to play with. And he's like, I'm about just like me with Commander. And I was like, why do you have all this stuff? That's a lot of money. And he goes, we had a friend. Oh no, he worked at this place called Comics and Stuff, and Comics and Stuff shut down. And before it did, his friend that worked there called him and he said, come take whatever you want. And he just took all the Warhammer, like walls of Warhammer stuff. So he has walls of Warhammer stuff at his house now. But this is from like, I don't know, 15 years ago or something. So it's like older shit. Anyway. Might be worth something.
Yeah, that's my dream. It's like, come into the store and take whatever you want. I'm like, oh yes, please.
Nick dreams about.
He's got some of the pewter ones, Nick.
Those are sick. I have one pewter model, and that is from. Oh my god, the guy from Pyroclasm, isn't he? He's the one from New Zealand.
Yes.
Pyroclasm. I'm sorry for not remembering your name. I don't remember my own kid's name sometimes. I call her the dog. I'm like, Gus, get over here. And it's like, oh, fuck, I'm talking to Vivian. With Pyroclasm, thank you again. He sent me a exclusive model from the Warhammer MMO. If you bought the collector's edition, you got a pewter model. And I was like,
dude, that's
awesome.
You
sure you want it? He's like, I'll send it to you, no problem, mate. Just go ahead and pay for the shipping, and I'll send it to you in 2 minutes. And I'm like, all right.
Dude, that's really good, man.
That's not bad.
That's not bad.
That's how you got your rubber ducky.
Higher, but
I know I can't do it right now. It's too tired. Emilio got like a ball opener. Bobby got some sort of computer part. I can't remember. And then
dude,
what did you get, Bobby? Did we talk about it, Bobby? Whatever you got.
No, I don't think I got anything.
I sent Emilio his stuff. I sent Emilio yours and his. Give some Pyroclasm.
The plot thickens.
I'm
lost on the way.
I'm looking around the room like, is there anything that says Bobby on it?
Bobby's like, I didn't get shit. What the fuck?
I got to hit up Pyronical, see what's going on here. Until then, Christian, what do you got?
This segment was brought to you by Nyanko in Discord. He says, I casually got into some X-Defiant, and I like it because it's halfway hero shooter with the ability and ultimate. Fast-paced, gun feels good, there's healing and shielding, convoys, etc. If someone wants to have a session someday, wave at me. I don't know, that's a call. If you feel like you want to play with Nyanko, this X-Defiant, I guess it's a new shooter, come to the Discord, say hi, and get a game going. Now, we're moving on to On the Radar. So these are just games that have caught our attention we haven't played, and Bobby's starting us off with another spooky game.
Spooky game called Nightmare Kart. So I saw somebody on my friends list playing this, and I'm like, I love kart games. It's the only type of racing game that I approve of. You can play it with controller. You don't need a driving wheel. And I clicked on it, and I was like, oh my God, these graphics look terrible. So, of course, I'm even more interested, right? But what's really interesting about this game is the story behind it. So initially, this was supposed to be a Bloodborne-themed kart racer called Bloodborne Kart.
Okay.
But Sony was like, nope, you're not doing that. And they did it kind of at the last minute. This thing was ready to release like back in January. And Sony said no, and so it delayed everything. And the person that created it completely changed it, so it looks very similar to Bloodborne, but it has nothing to do with it. So it's its own game entirely. And they released it on Steam back in, well, it was on itch.io before that for a while, but it's now on Steam as of June. And
for free.
You can play. Yeah, it's free. It's got a single player mode, but there's also online multiplayer, and there's boss fights in it. Boss fights in a kart racer game. And so I started reading the reviews on Steam because they're overwhelmingly positive. I'm like, there's something, okay, this is probably worth checking out. But a lot of the reviews are very memey and stuff, you know, like, haha, look, Bloodborne's finally on PC, and, you know, a lot of trashing Sony and all that. But people do seem to be enjoying it, and it seems like it is kind of difficult too. Like it's a challenging game. So I don't know. I'm kind of interested in it, but I just thought like the story behind it was funny and worth sharing, especially for all the Bloodborne fans out there.
Cool.
It's definitely interesting. Nick, you played Bloodborne all the way through. You beat it?
Played Bloodborne all the way through. Not my favorite From Software game. I like the aesthetic. I don't like the fact that you can't block, but hey, that's me. I'm just a lazy gamer. It has one of the best jokes ever in any From Software game, in a lot of games. So like the big thing when you play the game and you go through the tutorial, it's like you cannot block in this game. You are meant to roll, you're meant to parry, you're meant to shoot your gun in between your enemy's attacks to interrupt them. You just cannot block, right? And like 20 minutes into the real game, you can roll through shit, and you can like find items on the ground, and you find a shield, and I'm like, oh, cool, a shield. And then like no matter what enemy it is, no matter how strong they are, if you equip it and you try to use it, it just shatters into 1,000 pieces as soon as it gets hit, and you still take damage, and then you lose it from your inventory too, so you can't do anything with it. I think it's one of the best fucking jokes in the gaming world.
That's
Nice.
funny.
And in Nightmare Kart, there's like a General Grievous kart racer that attracts me to this game. But I don't know.
Christian, where are you with the Star Wars Saga Lego game? Like, how are you and Rhea not playing this together?
I don't. I talked to. It's a story for another time. Basically,
He
me
doesn't
and the
like
Lego
Legos. He
games,
just-
we don't get along. We don't get along.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Alright.
Sorry to burst everyone's bubble.
Who hates, all the lore you could ever want in one game, dude? But all right.
Lore? Something tells me I'm not going to be satisfied with Lego.
It's
Star
cheeky
Wars.
lore. It's definitely cheeky lore, for sure.
Yeah, maybe when Mara's born, I'll have a new appreciation for playing something and seeing it through her eyes. Before we move on, a couple episodes ago, maybe 3 or 4, Emilio, you told a story about Sam wearing an All Blacks hat,
Yes.
and you made a joke that maybe people will think that
She likes
only
black
did-
cock only.
She likes black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only.
Only.
Then
all
we went
blacks.
into the Haka. It was great. It was great. It's the New Zealand rugby team, but that cap was supposed to be for Bobby, which you just appropriated. That was
Oh, wow.
that was what Pyronic
That makes
said.
sense because I've never known you to wear a hat, and I not so much anymore. But I got a lot of hats. I'm a hat guy.
Bobby,
I wrote in one of our secret chats, by the way, that the hat was for Bobby, and nobody acknowledged it. I said,
Hey,
there's
Bobby.
a pen. I said, there's all this other stuff. No one acknowledged the fact that I was sending you guys stuff.
I've got a request, Bobby. That's Sam's favorite new hat, I guess, because she really loves black cocks. Is there any way that...
And I don't, dude. I mean,
He's being disrespectful at this point.
all right. Yeah, she can keep it. That's
I think we've learned our lesson. Anything that gets sent to Emilio gets appropriated through his family before
Immediately. They have to wear it first.
Yeah.
boy.
All right, Nick. What's on the radar?
So this is a little teaser for something that's coming down the line. I'll be talking about the new Magic the Gathering set that's coming out in about 3 weeks. It's called Bloomburrow. The pre-release is July 26th. If you don't know what a pre-release is, it's definitely an amazing way to get into Magic the Gathering. It's where a new set of cards comes out. You can go to your local game store. You pay $25. You get a bunch of cards that you can use to make a deck. They'll even help you make a deck at most places, and you can play the game. The set is really, really, really pretty. It is a
I
woodland
love it,
set.
dude.
It's a woodland set. You can watch the trailer online right now. It's these little characters. If you're close, if I think it's called Redwood or Redfall or something like that. It's like this little online game that's all about like woodland creatures that you can play as, like a weasel or a rat or like a crow. This is very, very similar aesthetic. Very, very similar. What the lore aspect behind it is that the whole plane of existence has kind of like a spell on it, where if anybody comes to it that's not a woodland creature, they get turned into a woodland creature. And if they
So
live,
0 humans.
yeah, if they leave, they get turned back to who they were. But this is definitely, like I said, where like all your favorite characters, they've reprinted cards from the past, and now they're like a squirrel or like a bunny or like an otter.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's really,
Dude, the
really
whole-
rad.
The whole fucking set is rad, dude. I love it. I think it's so cool. I already bought the Commander set. It's $100 less than the Commander set for Fallout. I was shocked.
Yeah,
I
because
paid for
it so for these sets, right? Just explain that real quick. A commander set is 4 different decks of 100 cards. There's only one of each card in every type of deck. Also, another great way to get into Magic. The most lax way to play the game, in my opinion. You can hear more about this kind of stuff. You can hear more about Magic the Gathering on a podcast that will be coming out most likely next Thursday. It's going to be called MTG on DLG. we'll be having a guest on the show. His name's Samir. He's a friend of mine for a very long time, and he just got into Magic the Gathering last 5 months ago, 6 months ago. And he's heavily invested, multiple thousands of dollars buying cards, has bought in collector's packs, is in the business of reselling cards online. Very intelligent guy, has a lot of fresh takes on stuff. Yeah.
Hey, Nick, so Bloomburrow's coming out, Bloomburrow, sorry. And it has a commander set. So the set before this was Thunder Junction. That did not have a commander set, correct?
No, it did. It had commander decks. They just weren't really as popular. These new commander decks that are coming out for Bloomburrow, they're really getting a spotlight because of the fact that they really work around card synergies as far as like types. So it's like, oh, this is an all rat deck, or
tribal.
This is a tribal. That's what it's called. And so these new ones, they're very cute. They're very pretty. A lot of people are getting into the set. There's alternate prints for the cards that are anime style, and then there's another alternate print that you can get for some cards that are like kind of like a whimsical story kind of like coloration. It kind of looks like it's on parchment paper from like the 16th century. It's really, really, really cool.
Christian, one of the commanders is the cutest commander that's ever existed. She's a bunny rabbit called like Mrs. Cottontail or something like that. And I don't know how exactly the mechanic is, but she keeps giving good things to the other players. I don't know how she ends up winning, but she gives health and like food and 1/1 tokens to other people's player. I don't know how. I can't wait to figure out how she wins.
So that theme of the deck, right? So every commander deck can have two.
Save it for your podcast, dude. We're going long.
But you can hear more about it later because we're running out of time, baby.
Apparently this Thursday. Look forward to it. All right. CyberpunkPM, Emilio?
Multiplayer, Cyberpunk mod, solo dev. I watched a video of somebody who actually played it. He said that it was astounding how little lag there was. I think that might have something to do with there only being one server and only being 15 people, maybe. I don't know. Because it was invite only and it's, alpha or whatever. But he said that everything was way, way more smooth than even some AAA launches. Just everything kind of worked. The problem is there's no animations for the player in Cyberpunk. It's a first person game, so you never see yourself do anything.
That's so weird.
Yeah, so everybody's just kind of moving around like Half-Life Deathmatch. Half-Life Deathmatch was really bad, where it's just like kind of like almost like Doom, where it's just like a picture that's moving around, and there's no animation, so it kind of crumples sometimes. It's weird, but besides that, everything else works. You can have deathmatch races, you can have regular races for speed, you can have deathmatch shooting, like all out carnage, and it doesn't matter. You can use your build. So if you're like a stealth build, you can do the razor wire, or you can do the mantis claws, or you could do all these things, but there's no animations for them, unfortunately. So yeah, you do whatever, mantis claws come out of your forearms and slice this person in half, but not really, so you'll just see somebody rub up against another character, and then, but it's all in alpha, so I don't think this person's good.
Maybe are coming eventually, they said, or impossible to add.
I don't know. But hopefully CG Project Red is looking at this, and we're like, hey, if this one guy did it, again, hire the guy.
Dude, totally. Because like the Grand Theft Auto roleplay scene, like the Cyberpunk version of that would like open so many doors to people.
Dude, all these people. I'd pick up the game immediately and play again.
Oh, and by the way, it's not region. I don't mean region like our world. There's not just small areas you can do this. Literally all of Night City was available, and they just decided to meet up in this parking lot and shoot each other. Like it's alpha, like it's very, but yeah, you can go anywhere you want. And so, yeah, eventually, maybe There'll be like I don't think so, because online was already part of the game in GT5. I mean, there was something that was planned. This was not planned as far as I know. So, but that would be excellent, dude. Why run around our world when you can run around in a better world that's worse?
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, now we're moving on to, what you've all been waiting for, what you've all been listening hours to get to, which is the game where you make money by guessing a video game sound. Guys, there's $25 in a pot. Every time someone sends in a guess and they get it wrong, we put $5 in the pot. You can email pixelshitshow@gmail.com to guess. Patrons get 2 guesses. And this is the sound you are guessing.
The most generic shit ever.
I hope you never get it. I better be 50 by the time someone guesses this bullshit. This week...
I know what it is.
No, I'd be very surprised. This week, Pyronicle sent in a guess, and he says, it's Descent, shooting the shield of an enemy ship. That's his first guess. The first guess is that in the original 1995 game, and his second guess, because he's a patron, is the 2019 remake. Okay, I mean... First guess, taking the stab at it, doing your best, Pyronicle. I like it. What do you guys think?
Do 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 do.
Yes, he's wrong.
Fucking loser.
Yeah, come on. No, thank you for your guess.
I'm
Thank you, everyone.
I'm kidding.
Thank you, everyone, for
Thanks
their
for
guesses. 5. That's so fucking funny. $5 more has been added to the pot thanks to Pyronicle, so $30 will be in the pot for next week. So send your guesses in pixelshitshow@gmail.com. But luckily, Bobby, Emilio, and Nick have an opportunity to help you. And before the podcast started, I asked everyone to send me in a mech, and we're going to play a little bit of a guessing game. So the person who sent in the mech can't guess the mech. For everyone watching the stream, the mech will be on screen. So I'm going to... And you guys have to guess 2 out of 3. So Nick, Emilio, and Bobby all sent in a mech. If we get 2 out of 3 of them as a group, the hint will be unlocked. So...
I can guess
Emilio,
Bobby before he even... Okay, never mind.
Emilio and Nick, I'm sending you the picture over Discord. This is a familiar mech. It has 4 legs, gray. I got some blasters in the front.
The stupidest.
What is it? What's the mech?
Well, don't fuck it up, Nick, because it's...
You say it.
It's an ATST, I believe.
Is
Am
that
I
your
wrong?
final guess?
No, let Nick answer.
Why do I have to answer it?
Well,
You're
am
the
I
one that
wrong?
was so don't fuck it up, Nick. It's an AT-AT, you dum-dum.
Because I thought the two
It's an
were...
all-terrain armored transport. ATST is the bipedal one.
Okay,
Chicken
AT-AT then.
It's an AT-AT. Thank you.
There we go.
guessing.
See? You got
Okay,
it.
okay. Now, Bobby...
Or if you were born in 1950 and at.
An AT-AT. Yeah. Bobby and Emilio, you guys are up. This is like a soldier-looking one. It has like Nick. So this is the one Nick sent in. Looks like Gundam-ish. I don't know any Gundams. Got some big green feet, painted all green. Space helmet. You guys got any idea?
I'll give you a hint. It starts with a Z.
No idea. Yeah, it looks like something from Ghost in the Shell, but I don't know.
Nope.
Yeah, I have no idea. It's got to be a Warhammer thing, right? Look at
Nope.
that axe.
No, not at all. It is Gundam. It is like the cannon fodder of like the bad guys. It's a Zaku 2. It's like the most common like bad guy mech.
Gotcha.
You
Yeah, I don't even
idiots.
know what
It's a
Gundam is.
Zaku too. Jesus. Okay, here's the one that Emilio sent in. So Nick and Bobby, you
Guaranteed.
guys are up.
Money in the bag. There's no way they get this wrong.
A colorful mech, lots of different stuff going on. Big sword, wings at the back. What kind of guess we got here?
So it's the Transformers, but what are they called when they all join together?
It's not a
Megatron.
No. Don't fuck this up, Bobby. It starts with a V. They're not Transformers. They're
Voltron.
Lion.
Okay, it's Voltron.
Thank you.
Jesus.
Jeez.
Dude, you chat. All right. First of all, Christian like messages me and is like, "Hey, what's your favorite mech?" And it's like, "I don't know any mechs, like zero. Like you're gonna have to expand on this a little bit." So, how about a mech? Then he says, "How about a mechanized vehicle?" Like, okay, I can
That's
work with that.
way better. Yeah.
Well, you got 2 out of 3. We got Voltron, some Gundam shit, and the AT-AT, which we almost didn't get. The ATST, that could have sunk us. So you guys unlocked a hint for the listeners. Begrudgingly, I'll give the hint. It is mech. Mech is the hint.
Oh.
And mech is the theme of the game. Wasn't that fun? Wasn't that
I
one
like
thing
it.
that-
I like it.
That was good. That was.
It all came
Good
back
job.
around.
Yeah, it's like poetry. It rhymes George Lucas. All right. Listener questions, Bobby. What do we got?
We got a couple of them, but first I'm going to start off with one that's not really a question. This is more of a response. So Yuke, the developer of Spec, has been messaging back and forth with us. He asked a listener question a few weeks ago about recommendations for NES or SNES games for his daughter to play, his 13-year-old daughter who has been playing old games, but maybe not enjoying them, but just kind of interested in them. And he says, not really a question, but Olivia, my 13-year-old, played Super Mario World on SNES for about 10 minutes and thought it was fine, but pretty indistinguishable from Super Mario Bros. 3 in her eyes. I can see that. North and South blew her mind a little bit. She didn't care for it because she couldn't figure out the controls for the battle scenes, but liked the tactical army control elements. And picked Wargroove back up for the first time in a year after she gave up on North and South. But she didn't think old games could be complicated like that. There was more to this quote here, and I don't know why it's not in here. One second.
That's all good.
Okay, he also says, when I showed her a YouTube video of Kung Fu, she decided she didn't need to try that one. And I agree. Kung Fu is, that came out like right when the Nintendo came out. That was like practically an Atari game. But I'm glad she had that reaction to North and South, because that was like my reaction. I had never seen a game like that on Nintendo, and I was like, this is so cool. And yeah, some of the battles are really in fact, last week when I talked about the remake of that game, I was like, it is so difficult to control these control all these units. It's not like an RTS where you can click and drag over units and move them. You have to like cycle through them with the buttons in order to move them. It's very cumbersome. But yeah, there's probably some YouTube channels of like little kids reacting to old games, right? If there's not, we should make one.
It's definitely happened.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that, man. We appreciate any communication. Doesn't have to be a question. You guys can, I don't know. Does it have to be a question?
No,
Is that a rule?
Don't open it up to comments, too, because we'll get some weird shit.
Yeah, we'll get some weird shit.
Okay.
Dude,
I noticed you took a
right,
breath at 1341. Looks like you were struggling on your breathing. Are you dying? Do you have lung cancer?
But you know what? I feel like some people do ask us a question so they can make a comment. Just like Atom, who says, what's the first exhibit you guys go to at the zoo? For me, it's the shrimp.
The
I think he's
shrimp?
being cheeky there.
I think he's likes shrimp to eat.
Yeah, I don't think
Are
they
you a
have
blue
shrimp at the
whale?
zoo.
Why are you looking at the shrimp? I don't get it.
They
I
eat
like the
krill.
penguins, though.
I'm a big cassowary guy.
Aren't krill tiny shrimp?
Kind of. I don't think
Nobody
they have-
knows.
Yeah.
It's a mystery.
Well, I have one of the greatest zoos in the world, 17 minutes from my house, which is nice. It's a humble flex there. But I have we go there a lot. We go 10 times a year, probably. And I have my route. This is the San Diego Zoo. You always want to hit the Outback first, because you see it's a very small circle and you see some of the best animals all within a very small space. So even if you have a heart attack, you already got your animals in for the day. It's the
Nice.
quickest, easiest, large consumption of crazy animals.
When I get
Quickly.
older, will I plan my routes out for heart attack scenarios?
Well, you underestimate the San Diego Zoo.
Yeah.
You will not.
It is
99%
really awesome.
of people could not physically walk that whole thing.
No.
It is like miles and miles, and it's uphill, downhill, all around. Like it is, you will be beat if you try to see everything at the zoo.
There's secret weird spots like going through. They're not secret, but like they're not obviously routes. You know, you'll be like, is this a staircase for regular people? And then you go down, and there's a whole subfloor.
It is confusing to get around.
Yeah.
It's a lot of winding paths. So when you walk into the San Diego Zoo, the first thing that you'll see is the exhibit that is filled with the flamingos. They've taken them out of there, and I don't know if they've put them back yet, but they've been gone for the longest time because of some bird flu that was going around. But that's like the first thing you see when you walk in. So you don't really have much of a choice on what the first exhibit you visit when you go to the zoo. At least the San Diego Zoo.
Mm-hmm.
It is amazing though. And they just recently like a year or two ago, but they redid like the kids area with the petting zoo. They don't have that anymore. It's all those big like insect bug exhibit. That's
fucking
amazing.
awesome. It's so great.
It's incredible. It really is one of the nicest zoos in the world. And I didn't realize that until I started going to zoos outside of San Diego. And I was like, dude, this looks like somebody just threw up a fence in their backyard or something and threw a gorilla in it. Like, what is this? And then like some of these exhibits, I'm like, is that tiger in jail or something? Like, what the fuck? Yeah.
I don't like seeing the gorillas at the zoo. As soon as they do human things, I get a weird, funny feeling where I'm like, I don't know if these should be in here, really.
For sure. I'm like, especially at SeaWorld, I'm like, half of these things are smarter than me. Like, what they should be visiting.
Yeah. Well, SeaWorld's made some changes in their defense
for sure.
SeaWorld defender Bobby over here. Wait, Bobby, isn't your favorite animal the cat with the human hands?
Not the human hands, no, the webbed paws. Yeah.
Ew. I was gonna say, what fucking cat has human hands?
Okay. So there's a fishing cat in the San Diego Zoo, and you will never see it because it's always hiding. It's a cat. It just like lays down and takes a 12-hour nap in the corner, and so you can't see it. But every now and then, you'll get a glimpse of it here or there. One time, I think I even saw it jump into the water, but that could have been a dream. I don't know. Like that just it doesn't seem real.
Also, if you and three other park goers stand on its back, you get an achievement.
Yeah.
That's a throwback.
All right. Next question from Scram TX. We are over halfway through the year. What is leading your game of the year pick?
I don't know, man. It got shaken up, dude. It got shaken up. I think I'm not saying Rabbit and Steel is game of the year. I'm just saying if, like I said earlier, if I were going to extract what I love most about indies, taking risks and all this stuff, and I guess reductions of larger things, it's very nice. But I always fuck up the name of this. Senua Part 2. I'm just going to call it Senua Part 2. Is super incredible, man. I'm sure it's not the best game in the world for everybody, but for me, it's incredibly impressive.
Can a DLC be game of the year, or does that not count?
I think so.
That counts.
Yeah.
Shadow of the Erdtree.
Nice.
Can a season pass be, or it's a seasonal update? I don't know, man. Rabbit and Steel is amazing, but we'll see if it has legs. And I'd have to look at the games that I've played this year. I don't know if there's anything that has really been like on the game of the year worthy just yet, except maybe Rabbit and Steel.
Dude, Deep Rock Galactic Survivor is up there for me too. Top 3.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Probably top 3 for sure.
Yeah. And Rogue Core is coming out soon. So I'll be keeping an eye on that. That's supposed to come out with season 6.
I can't stop playing Mechabellum. I know I played it last year, so does it count? Because it's supposed to be games that we played this year. But if not that, then Songs of Conquest leading the charge.
Yeah.
Those
cool,
two.
Man.
Yeah.
All right. We got some questions from Zap here. What's one piece of PC hardware you regret buying?
Ooh, that's a good question. I can't think of anything bad right now. Fuck.
You know what, dude? I'm not going to speak for everybody. I'm going to try to, I guess, is, PC gamers and PC people are informed people. We always search out a bunch of reviews. I feel like most people, we don't. There's no impulse buying that you do sitting in a chair at your computer because you have the whole world in front of you. So, at least for me, I compare everything. I talk to Zap, by the way. Ironically, he always gives me the hard, nice recommendations. So I don't regret a lot of the things that I buy.
I think you're sucking up. Well, actually, lately I've had to hide my flight stick because people have been judging me for it. So I put it like underneath, and I made a little drawer for it that looks inconspicuous, so that if anyone comes over, they think I still have my dignity. So
it's good. It's a good call there, dude.
One piece of hardware I regret buying was actually a long time ago, like 5 or 6 years ago. When I was in the military, there's only Wi-Fi. There's no hard wiring, right? And the PC that I built didn't have a Wi-Fi receiver in it. I built it with just Ethernet because I figured I'm only going to use it ever in Ethernet. And I built that before I went into the military, like 2 years before. I bought a little USB Wi-Fi connector. Worst fucking thing that I ever bought ever. It was like, it topped out at like 7 megabytes a second. I was like, I promptly went back to Best Buy, returned it, did some research, actually bought something cool, and made it work.
Sweet.
I know somewhere in there's like knockoff controllers. Don't buy knockoff controllers. They're almost never worth it. There's no way that they're gonna give you the value that you want. Like, it's just, they always feel clunky. Growing up, we always had 3 good controllers, and we had the knockoff, and the company was called the Rhino. So then, like, whoever got the Rhino was like, oh, I don't want the Rhino. It's like, so fuck it, dude. You got the Rhino, dude. Sorry. If it's 3 times the size of the regular ones, and that's just how it goes, bro.
Damn, I've been looking at the dual pence controller because I've been wanting a new PlayStation one, and that's the knockoff brand. But I won't get it. I won't save a buck there. It's fine.
Yeah,
controllers are expensive these days. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
For me, worst piece of hardware, the Logitech G930. That headset I hated so much. It was like one of the first wireless, I think the first wireless headset I got. Everybody had one of those too. They were very popular about 10 years ago, and they were absolute pieces of garbage. They would always disconnect, and they were just terrible. Also, strong contender, Windows 11. Not enjoying that operating system.
Oh, wow. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
Take that, Windows.
Yeah.
Dude, did any of you guys ever use the behind the head headphones? I bought like 3 of those in a row. I really enjoyed them. Instead of having this here.
Oh, yeah, those.
Mm-hmm.
No,
most of the
weird.
weight is on the top of your ears, though, unfortunately.
The reverse Lobot. Don't like it.
Especially for gaming, and if I'm going to be playing for a long time, I got to go with earbuds, wingtip. Like, I can't do the headphones. Squeezes my head. Not comfortable.
It's awesome that you have wingtip earbuds right next to your wingtip, like graying on your side. It's awesome, dude. Yeah, you're all winged. You're all wingtipped out.
There's
dude.
a lot more gray here, dude.
No,
the camera's not picking it up, but there's a lot of gray here.
Within 4 inches, he has 2 things called wingtips. All right, what else we got? Is that a show?
Nope. Last question from Zap. What's the worst date you've ever been on?
I'll tell you the worst date somebody's ever been on because they went on a date with me. So I was dating this Filipino girl, or it was our first date, and she had a very, very strong accent. And I was like, hey, how long have you been here? And she's like, 4 years. I was like, your English is really good for only being here 4 years. She's like, no, they teach us English from the first year of school in the Philippines. And I said, in that case, it's terrible. So
God
she
damn.
didn't. I know, she's
Starting off real strong.
Real strong.
And then
Oh my God.
it was a San Diego, like, it was maybe like November or something in San Diego. It never gets super cold, and it's no Calgary, right? And she's same girl. She was freezing to the point where she was like started to like shut down. She's like, I don't think I could survive, And I couldn't stop laughing, dude. I thought it was so funny. Anyway, I used to be a real asshole.
Emilio, everybody, doesn't have a heart. Never did, never will.
Was this like mid 2000s, dude? Were you trying to like neg her, like the pickup artist or something? Were you wearing a big funny hat with a feather in it?
It worked.
Do you have 1,000 bracelets?
Oh my goodness. I don't think I've ever really been on like terrible dates. I was on, okay, well, I got one that was weird. So I had a friend who was a coworker. He was actually really into gaming too. Like, he was like super into Counter-Strike and Final Fantasy games. Like we'd play video games after work all the time. And then one time, like he invited me over and was like, "Hey, you should meet my wife's friend." And like he was trying to set me up. I was like, I don't know, man. I don't really like do blind dates or anything. Like, no, it'll be cool, man. We'll just be casual. We'll hang out. So like we do this. I'm like, okay, whatever. And we go and do this and we pick up this girl and she has no idea what's happening. Like no idea.
No.
She's like, oh, I thought we were going to study for school. And and they're just like, oh no, we're going to go out and get something to eat. Like they were trying to like trick her into going on a date with me. And I was like, this is so weird, dude.
That is a piece of shit move.
So
Wow.
did you get laid?
No.
Oh, okay.
Shut the fuck up.
And then I told her she looked like shit and I was wearing a funny hat. So then I
Punch her in
hit
the
it, bro.
fucking throat right as soon as you got out of the car to establish dominance.
Yeah. Good old days.
Oh man. For me, oh, you want to go? You can go.
No, you can go. No.
All right. For me, I was in high school. I went on a date with this girl. I did not know that she was Mormon and she lived a super sheltered life, and that essentially this was the first date she's ever been on, and she was like 17 years old, and she had no social skills whatsoever. I'm like, hey, what's going on? Blah 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 blah, and like it would just. She's like, I don't know what to do, or I don't know what to say. And it turns out that I found all this out from her best friend, and I was like, oh, I kind of feel like a dick for, like, I guess being over imposing or something. It just turns out she had no social skills because, like, they never let her out of the house. They never let her hang out with her friends. Like, the only time she ever hung out with people was at school. And I was like, oh, okay.
You're a real asshole, Nick.
Yeah, compared to you, Dick?
Yeah,
You're
there's
full of-
levels. There's levels to this.
There's
for
levels
sure.
of assholery in this podcast.
Yeah.
Well, I'm surprised we made it through that question without like shit coming into play. Like I really thought there was going to be some terrible shit.
Well, we
stories.
haven't-
But we haven't heard from Christian yet.
I was about to say, we
haven't-
might get one from him.
I was in between two. I won't go. This one. So it also has to do with the weather. I asked my coworker out. I used to work at the sandwich shop when I first moved to Edmonton, and I asked out your coworker, which I don't think you're ever supposed to do on like the first couple weeks, but she said yes. So she came over. I was frantically cleaning. I lived with these two guys who were just disgusting. I mean, we were all pretty disgusting, but they were extra disgusting. So I was frantically cleaning, and I opened the window to my room to let all the air out that was bad. Good air comes in, but it's November in Edmonton, which is 3 hours north of Calgary. We're talking cold. We're talking super cold, like minus 20, 25. So everything's going good. And then we moved to the bedroom. It's so stupid, dude. It had snowed, and it had snowed through my window, and my whole bed was covered in snow. We couldn't do anything. My roommates came home, so we couldn't go back out there. So, I mean, she went home. And I don't know if it was like the horrible date, but I just opened the door, snow everywhere. I was
Winter
like, this-
Wonderland, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I
that
can't
really
imagine
sucked.
the amount of mold that grew in that room after that, dude. That sounds terrible.
I feel like a good one-liner right there would have saved the day. Like, I don't know what exactly. Like, it looks like this room needs warming or something. I don't know.
I never went to pickup artist school. I don't have a lot of one-liners, Hey, you want to make a snowman? Anyways, yeah.
All right, that's all our listener questions. What's everyone playing next week?
More Shadow of the Erdtree. Yay, until I beat it.
I'll say what I did last week. Avatar, and hopefully beat Senua's Senua 2.
Okay. I would like to get a game night going of Chained Together, but we'll see if that happens.
Ooh, yeah. I
I've
would
been,
like to be
I've been
chained
playing that
together.
on Mondays. It's really fun.
Are we not invited? Do you think?
No, what the fuck? You're not even my friends. I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
that's true.
No, every Monday is where I play with my friends back in California, and they chose Chain Together for this time.
Okay. Not you guys from California. Not Emilio
Yeah,
and
not
Bobby.
these Californians. Other
No,
Californians.
cooler
No.
Californians.
Yeah.
These are my
More
family
important
members.
Californians. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh,
They are my
okay.
friends. I chose
Good
them.
pivot.
I was cursed
like
with
that.
these two.
I would like to play Lacera Summit Kingdom. I think I'm going to tackle that.
All right, no
Sounds
one knows
cool.
what that is. Nobody cares. All right. Speaking,
Jeez.
speaking for Nick, Emilio. No, I fucked that up. Speaking for Nick, Christian, Bobby, and myself, all black titties. All blacks titties. Bye, everybody. I'm down for some Ravenous Steel if anybody else is.